What's going on, guys? Matt Manduke here, and I'm giving you a very brief tour of, this is my third truck, and it's a brief tour because I'm only going to have it for a little while. Now, I am currently sitting at the Atlanta terminal, which is in Lithia Springs, and the front end of this truck looks like the one, that one. With the exception of I don't have that chin spoiler that goes almost all the way to the ground, because this one, well, it didn't have it when I got it. But it's that color on the outside, and that's how it looks. Now, this truck is a little different than the last one that we saw, in that the newer version I can, turn on. And I'm not going to start it up or nothing because I'm not going anywhere, so there's really no reason to waste fuel. But, as you can see, the dash cluster is a bit different. And that is, well, what you're hearing right there is the lane departure warning. So, yeah, it gives you a screen with a bunch of stuff. There are actually other things that it will show there, and it's hooked into the radio, so you have radio controls on the steering wheel, which is a little bit more modern. But also you only have the one air gauge, primary air gauge for the truck here. I actually wanted to highlight something that I correct myself in that the primary and secondary air gauge there, you can see there's two needles. The blue one is the secondary and the white one is the primary. Not what I previously said, that it wasn't on this dash. The DEF and the fuel is done the same way, which I really just want to correct myself. There are other things on the dash cluster, which is, this is what I showed, but then you also get a breakdown, which I've reset in North Carolina. And I'm averaging 7.4 miles to the gallon, which is about a half a mile to the gallon, a little bit more than that, more than the prior generation got. The driving assistant, that actually shows you the distance you are from the vehicle in front of you. It'll tell you how fast they're going, how far in feet you are, and how far in seconds you are if they were stopped. And then this one actually tells you the temperature outside, the odometer, and the speed you're going. And then where it says miles per hour there, that tells you where your cruise is set, and next to it, it tells you how many feet you are from the vehicle in front of you, which is actually useful because that's on all pages, but I do often use the driving assistance as far as what the radar is showing. And it tells you what gear you're in, so you'll know when it shifts into neutral. And it does do coasting down hills a little differently. It'll actually shift into neutral at the top of a hill, which is a little weird, and it'll put it down 4 miles an hour, and then it'll allow it to coast up to 5 above where you have it set. Then, of course, on the optimize idle, that tells you when you have your differentials locked. That tells you what your soot level is, and I've never had to regen this, and I'm not going to be regenning it, I don't think, because look at it. And then it has some extra gauges here, which I actually have. The applied pressure is the one in the middle, the fifth wheel pressure is on the right, and the oil temperature. Well, I have the applied pressure and the fifth wheel pressure on the side, and that's where I said my secondary air gauge was. It's not. That's applied pressure. But I'll go back to there because that's what I'm going to use. I don't know what all this stuff is, but software updates are, I guess that's going to happen. You can actually change that, and if you're using Bluetooth, which is not going to show that because I'm not currently connected, if you're using Bluetooth, it'll allow you to change the track, and then it has an alarm clock built into it as well. But they all seem to have an alarm clock because they don't want you oversleeping. And like I said, over here, this is the primary and this is the fifth wheel and the applied air. So if I hit the brakes, that'll actually come on. Or when you hook up to a trailer, if it's taking more air, that comes on for that too. So it's actually fairly useful. And then I had showed the fifth wheel in the first update that I gave. Well, you also see that there's an air slide on the side. We don't touch those unless it's a brand new truck and you're going to put it all the way back. Otherwise, it's a double sleeper. You're not going to be moving it, but that's also where your lock is. And while I showed that there are lights here, this is actually the light test that a recruiter might have told you about, where you hit it once and it cycles through the different lights so you can walk around the truck and test all the lights. Ambient lighting turns on the sleeper and the dome light at a lower setting. The sleeper dome is just what it says. The dome light is what it says. The footwell lighting, I don't know if you can really see that, but yeah, see that orange light down there? That's the footwell lighting. The prior generation was red. The traction control, the lane departure warning turn off, and the engine override is here. Also, and then the utility light, and all the lights on here are LED. Something that I kind of don't like about it is on the windows, not the windows, but like I don't mind that the window switches are down for down and up for up because they were backwards in the prior generation. The heated mirrors up here, but what I don't like is if I'm doing some kind of backing maneuver where I need to edit my mirror adjustment, like I need to slide out my passenger side west coast, I'll hit this button, and after a little bit of time that'll go off, so I can't just reach over there and do it again. I gotta hit the button again, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but being that it goes off means that I can't accidentally hit the button. Not that it's in a location that you would really do that. I have come to enjoy the shelf here because I can put things on, and it's actually fairly dependable. That's kind of nice to have. And the cup holders isn't bad. I like that I have an extra cup holder even though I don't really use it. The convex mirrors on this truck are actually nicer than they were on the fender convex, are actually nicer than they were on the prior generation. And then, like I said, the steering wheel is a little bit more involved in that this is your dash controls and music controls and the volume for the radio and all that. And then over here you have some Bluetooth controls and your cruise control stuff. So like that's backwards from the prior generation. You still had the same shifter, and I haven't actually played with the headlight high beams and all that, but I assume that works the same way. It's just it's a different one. It's more like the actual shifter for the you know, automatic. Then the dash over here is a little different, and you can see I actually have my Garmin's attached to it. My phone charger is attached to it again, but I'm using my phone to record this. You can see where the radio is off to the right, which is different. And then that's actually my secondary air gauge and my fifth wheel pressure gauge, which my last truck had it, but my first truck did not have that. And then your air conditioning controls, and then that's where all your lighting controls are, which they're a little bit different, so that would take some getting used to, but I'm not going to have this truck for very long. I'm going from here to Phoenix, Arizona, and this truck is actually already sold, and I don't know why, because it only has 85,000 miles on it. Then the cup holders are towards the floor. I didn't feature the overhead compartments in the last video, but there's like, these ones have like glove box style overhead compartments. It has a shelf up there, and it has one on each side here, which the last guy left some stuff in there. And then you get two like shelf things there, and it has more like a regular pickup truck style overhead here. And the same thing, you get like a glove box there and a glove box up there, and you still get the shelf that goes all the way around. A little bit more because I can. It's in the optimized idle mode now, which works a little bit differently than the prior generation, but I expect it to, because this truck does feel like a new truck, whereas the 16 and 17 kind of felt old. This is a bit more updated than some of the other things. The floor well lighting is a little nicer. There's a little light up there that actually illuminates just a little bit down here. It is a little bit odd for me to get used to the cup holders being in a different spot, but I haven't been driving trucks so long that it's like really built into my head. I had some problem with the air fifth wheel puller, which is actually down here, and I think it maybe because the truck's probably sat for a little bit, it might just need, you know, to be used a little bit because it was a little weird. But for the most part, I like this truck. And the only thing that I can really say is they adjusted the seat. This is not the same seat from the 17, even though this is the 18. They must have got enough complaints about the seat for the 17, because the seat felt like a piece of plywood with fabric on it. And the 16 didn't have that seat. It actually had a good seat. The 16 that I had an armrest on the other side, and I really, really wish that there was an armrest on this side. But this seat, they adjusted it, and it feels like it sits a little bit higher, in that when I sit in the 16 and 17, I put the seat all the way down and I can't see the hood. When I put the seat all the way down on this one, I can see the hood. So clearly there's a difference there. It's not going quite as low, and I don't necessarily like that, because that's changing my view, and that's the whole reason why I haven't wanted to put a pad on the 17, because it would make me sit higher. But yeah, this seat isn't much more comfortable, but it is a little bit more comfortable than the 17. Now, the other thing that I actually really like about this truck is it doesn't have the bar in the middle of the window, so it's not two separate windshields. It's one big windshield, which isn't even really that big. It's about the same size as it was on my van, so I don't see that being a problem. And that black box you see in the middle, that's the lane departure camera, which, I mean, it's fairly useful. I don't like that the mirrors are smaller on this than they were on the 17 and the 16. Even though the 17 and the 16 didn't have the same mirrors. Like 17 was like a misyear or something. I just didn't like it. But for the most part, I do kind of like this truck. And I wouldn't be against having this. Although I still want a Kenworth, because the Warner Kenworths have 2 armrests. And that shouldn't be a deal breaker, but it totally is. Then, if we look at the back and the sleeper, there's a drop-down ladder, which I'm not going to drop it down for you because I don't much use the overhead space, except for now. I'm not moving fully into this truck because I'm not going to have it very long. You get a glove box style there. You get that has a pull-out drawer and another cabinet at the bottom. And then to the right, there is another cabinet, and underneath there is a pull-out, like, tabletop kind of, I guess it's more of like a cutting board type thing, and another cabinet that is similar to a glove box, and then like there's the top one over there as well. I wanted to actually show how big these glove boxes up here are. That wire hanging down, that's actually my dash cam, which will show. This truck does feel a lot more peppy than the prior generation, and yeah, you can see I'm in Arizona now, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it's like 35 degrees outside, and it's windy. It's like 30-mile-an-hour winds with 50-mile-an-hour gusts. So that's why I'm parked, and I'm parked so that the wind is blowing against my trailer. There's one more thing I wanted to show. I wanted to show the size of these glove boxes in the back here, because this is your living area. So, you know, yeah, I have food in there, but you can see how big it is, and there's one of those on each side. And then this is a spot that is made for a TV, but I don't have a TV. But what I do have in here is all the way in the back, right here, which you can't really see because I got it plugged in. But there's a 20 amp outlet there, which is something that used to be underneath the bed on the prior generation. Yeah, that was my freezer. And then I actually wanted to show the size of these cabinets here. And this one, yeah, I kind of have it empty because, like I said, I haven't moved in. I'm not doing the whole hanging my clothes and all that stuff because I can't live in the truck. And then you have this table thing, and it's not a drawer, and I think it's kind of a waste that it's not a drawer, but it is what it is. And then you have a drawer on the other side, and if I pull it hard, it'll come all the way out, and that's where I've been putting my laptop when I'm not using it. And then there's actually a shelf here, which, you know, no big deal. And there's another cabinet down here, which again I'm not really using because I never really moved in. And what I will do also is, if I pause this, I will show you the ladder. Alright, I had to pause it because it actually requires both hands. But this thing, if I kick my shoe out of the way, set out of the way, feel like, oh yeah, there is stuff underneath it, because I don't really use it. But this thing is actually sturdy and secure. And I saw another video online where there's like a 400-pound woman climbing up on it. And so it must be very sturdy, but it folds out of the way, and you know, it works so that you can get up top. And I didn't really show the space up top, and yeah, I got a lot of crap up here, but on top of the glove boxes, and then you can see the reading light there. There is not one on both ends. Now underneath the bed there is a 2,000 watt inverter, which is a nice feature to have, because that allows you to have something like, you know, power. You still get the same windows, but you get a little different controls back here for the sleeper. That kind of turns on all the lighting, and then here is actually LED lights, whereas the last one was all incandescent. There's a footwell light, there's a sleeper dome, and then there's the regular dome light. You can mute the sleeper because there's speakers back here, and then there's AC controls for when the truck is running. And then up there you have your APU, and that controls. It also has these reading lights, which they're bright. That's actually not too bad for recording. And it has one on each end, as well as one on the top, and then you have this other posable reading light that is attached, which I thought was kind of cool. But that's pretty much well, all you really get from it. And I did like check and make sure everything worked, because that's what it is. And yeah, I got some of my stuff in trash bags, and like I said, I'm just taking it to Arizona, and then it's not going to be my truck anymore, so there's no sense in really moving in. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this, I'm going to be giving a tour of the next truck that I get. And I'm sorry that I didn't do the last truck that I had, but it was a 2017 Cascadia, which was more or less the same as my 2016 Cascadia, except for, well, the cruise control didn't work, and that's why I don't still have that truck. And I don't want another Frieghtliner, and that's why they're sending me to Arizona, because I want a Kenworth. So hopefully that's what I'm going to get, and hopefully that's what I'll be giving you the next tour of. And hopefully my fourth truck I'll actually have for a little while, but who knows. And so anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Click that subscribe button. I wouldn't do this without you. I'll see all my friends later.